Referee Echo 1212. Make a sound, Zap.
Hello.
Make a sound, Idris.
Yeah.
Make a sound, Richie. Hey. Okay, we're here. Mike Zappy, Richard Hicks, Idris Salam. Zappy, welcome back. Out in those streets looking like you are literally
recruitment trail.
Future. You appear to be
post prime right quick. All right, it's the blue screen because my eyes hadn't healed yet, so
they're like, man, all these mofos must have got really smashed yesterday. I'm Richie Hicks Junior Sports Podcast. Happy New Year, Mike Zappy, San Antonio, Texas. Idris Salam, North Carolina. I'm in St. Cloud, Florida. We are giving you a Week 17 NFL rundown, and yesterday was the day for Lamar Jackson. Unbelievable. Madden mode. Straight Madden mode, what Lamar did yesterday. Miami was missing Jalen Waddle.
Mm-hmm.
Miami was missing Raheem Mostert, but neither one of those dudes play on defense. What the Baltimore Ravens did yesterday really certified that going into these playoffs, they are the team to beat. Not saying that they're going to win. We've seen a lot of mighty one seeds fall over the course of the last few years. But the Ravens most definitely have a great chance to win their third Super Bowl. And Lamar Jackson has an even better chance of winning his second league MVP. I think between the Brock Purdy one-on-one game and now doing this to the Miami Dolphins, it's really not a question who the MVP is going to be at this point.
No, it's no question about it at all. I mean, what Baltimore did yesterday, or actually the last couple games, they're on a mission right now, trying to say, look, we had the opportunity a few years ago when we were 14-2, league MVP in Lamar. Obviously, they did not make the Super Bowl, but this year there's something different about this team, and Lamar definitely solidified his MVP campaign this year. Dak and Purdy still right there, but you can't discredit a 5-touchdown game against the first place AFC East teams to what was a battle for the number one seed in the playoffs. So Lamar and the Ravens showed up. Miami sinking ship. Now they got to deal with Buffalo this week for the division. Nah, not looking good.
Everything Zappy said. I mean, you go out there, you play the game like you're on a ball field. It's like everything he threw up in the air got caught when he could use his legs. He got it done. The defense, I mean, golly, they were just grabbing balls out the air. I mean, I sat there and watched that game. I was like, man, they just destroying Miami. They made tuna fish out of those guys. Now, I thought it'd be pretty close without Mostert and without Waddle. I knew they'd be handicapped, but still, the defense didn't show up. That defense got throttled right out the gate.
They got throttled, and then not only did they get throttled out of the gate, but losing Bradley Chubb for the rest of the year with a torn ACL, that's a big loss going into the playoffs for this Dolphins team, let alone having to deal with Josh Allen on Sunday. I mean, geez.
That's bad to lose it, but like almost at the end of the season and you tear your ACL.
Yeah,
and
that was insane.
You make a good point, dude. You say playoffs.
The playoffs.
In South Beach this coming week, Week 18, Miami Dolphins will be hosting the Buffalo Bills. A Bills win is a season sweep, and a season sweep means they steal the division final week of the year.
I'm laughing at the Chives, man.
Me too. I might be signaling the end to the Miami season. But no, Zappy, essentially what I'm getting at, it's a playoff game in a lot of variables. Because if Miami loses that game, it changes the complete trajectory of what they got to do in the postseason to do anything at all.
And that's the problem is we're talking about playing in 70 to 80 degree weather in January as opposed to having to go up to Baltimore and facing a possible cold game. Buffalo facing a possible cold game. Kansas City facing a possible cold game. Those are things that just do not work in the Dolphins' favor. And, the crazier part is just a few weeks ago, the Bills were long out of the playoffs. And now we're talking about this Bills team who might end up being the number 2 seed in the AFC when it's all said and done.
When you consider that after that Philly game and the Gabe Davis, Josh Allen miscommunication, I know many of us on different social media platforms are bitching about the refs. And for them to overcome that, and they haven't been perfect. I mean, they played a banged-up Charger team, didn't look impressive. They did look impressive in KC. Buffalo, I think you guys may agree, has played to the level of their competition over the course of the last 3 seasons. I think that would be a fair statement because they go into Arrowhead with better Chiefs teams. I'm talking about years past and play epic battles. They've done it against the Bengals too. Granted, the Bengals have had their number. They've played against the Baltimores, the Miamis of the world, and powerful NFC teams. But when they get those games that they're supposed to win, pencil it in, this is supposed to be a cakewalk, Buffalo has always had a propensity for keeping those kind of teams around. We saw it with the Patriots. We saw it against our Giants, who are not a very good team this year. Lesser competition. The Bills have had a habit and a problem of disposing of them.
Yeah, it really is. And funny you say that because as we were hitting on the Ravens, I truly believe that while the Browns do present a big challenge to the Ravens, I think it's the Bills that presents the biggest challenge to them. So, and it's the fact that we might get ourselves a Baltimore-Buffalo AFC Championship game. I wouldn't sit there and get too comfortable if I'm a Ravens fan. No, sir, because if there's one thing, is Josh Allen has been battle-tested over the last few years, even going back to his first playoff game against the Texans. This guy knows what he's doing. This team is built to win right now. The move of the season, the firing of Ken Dorsey, we see a new offense with this team and just the way they're rolling right now. It's a beautiful thing to watch.
They're running the ball. That's something they wouldn't do except for with Josh Allen, but they're running the ball. Gives Diggs some gives him some spacing because now you got to pull a linebackers up and give Diggs one-on-one.
And what is it with these AFC East teams that they always got to be a year behind the advice of this panel, because we've all said it with different teams. Guys, can you please run the ball? Last year, Zappy and I said this frequently. Miami Dolphins, can you please run the football? Please and thank you. Can you please run the football? Now Mike McDaniel, the San Francisco connection with Wilson, Mostert. Achan is the most talented of the bunch, but he's been injured. He's going to have a nice career if he can stay injury-free for the most part. But the point to be made, fellas, is like now Buffalo suddenly figuring out, oh, shit, we could run the ball. This is kind of cool. They did it against the Dallas Cowboys.
They didn't just do it. That was a whole new level of running the ball.
I didn't expect that either.
Looking at the roster, I'm like, is this Kenneth Davis and Thurman Thomas here? I haven't seen Buffalo run the ball with that conviction since they had beast mode.
Yeah.
And all it told me, and going to my Cowboys, all it told me that Micah Parsons, as much as I love watching him off the edge, he needs to be an off-the-ball linebacker 65 to 75% of the time, because the way he can read the play and react so fast, our run defense is actually good when he's playing back. But when he's on the line, I'm sorry, Marquise Bell is a great safety converted linebacker, but he's only 215 pounds. He's going to get beaten up by those line all the time, So that's the one thing is that game, watching Buffalo and James Cook run all over us told me that day that, all right, Micah needs to stay off the ball a lot more and, use him on passing situations to rush the passer.
But
and you saw them do that a lot against Detroit. You saw them where Micah was lined up. Micah was making a lot of plays because of that, and then we saw Tank. But, it's Buffalo, oh, man, I'm happy they figured it out. And then now if they get themselves a true number 2 receiver, that offense could be
I got to ask you this, Dappy, in reference to the Ravens before we move it along to other events in the league. I also want your feedback here, Idris. You mentioned that the Buffalo Bills do pose a legitimate threat to the Baltimore Ravens, but I do want to ask you this. Division rival Cleveland, very hot team, stingy defense, not phenomenal quarterback play, but competent quarterback play and leadership that no quarterback prior to him has brought out of this season's options. Do you think the Cleveland Browns could be that team that could go into Baltimore and get delayed, just do revenge? Because as we all know the history, Art Modell left Cleveland and started a franchise there.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen it once already this year with Cleveland and Baltimore. Cleveland having Joe Flacco at the helm right now was a blessing in disguise, because we're talking about a guy that did it over the years with Baltimore. But now we're talking about what he brings in that locker room, what he brings in the leadership aspect. They have a Super Bowl defense. That defense, I mean, they're the best defense in the NFL. And to see the adversity that team has gone through with losing Deshaun, losing Nick Chubb, not having Amari Cooper this last game, and Joe Flacco is still going out there and showing his leadership capabilities. If you give him time to throw the ball, he's going to pick you apart. And I do firmly believe that they can go into Baltimore and win a dogfight. You know, it's going to be punch after punch, haymaker after haymaker. Just a matter of who can go in. But yeah, I think Cleveland does present that opportunity to surprise some people this year.
I think they can do, because one thing is a division game, and Cleveland and Baltimore, they battle it out. Joe Flacco battle tested, so he's not going to get, rattled like, okay, I'm in a big game. He's been there. He's beaten New England in the playoffs, He's got a Super Bowl. So, I mean,
Another
Mm-hmm.
interesting caveat, Idris, and this might not be the first thing that rolls off the page because Odell Beckham's not the player he once was.
Yeah.
But Odell Beckham wanted out of Cleveland in a bad way. He finally did get out of there. Won a quick Super Bowl with the Rams, healed up, flirted with the Cowboys, flirted with the Giants, flirted with other teams. Ultimately, he signed with the Baltimore Ravens. That's another interesting caveat to this. But I'm going to take it back even further. 1986, the drive, John Elway. So much football history changed after that Super Bowl, and even the one 4 years later. We know that Belichick went to Cleveland. They quit on him. Belichick could have conceivably been the Ravens coach. Brian Billick had quick success. Eventually, he was moved on from. A lot of this is circular when it comes to the Browns. Their ever-growing pursuit to try to find the right quarterback. They paid Deshaun all that money. They reset the market. It affected Lamar the most. Then you get the former Raven before Lamar, Joe Flacco, sitting on his couch, playing daddy, having fun, barbecues and ball games.
Throwing passes with his brother to keep his arm loose.
Right.
Literally what he was doing. Come on.
It's crazy because
this comeback makes me think that we all have a shot.
His
story can possibly give him comeback player of the year in a quarter of the season. That's what's crazy about it.
The reason, Zap, why that wouldn't happen is only one simple reason. It's because of the drastic, life-changing stuff that happened in Cincinnati with DeMar Hamlin. If were it not for that scenario, under any other circumstance, that is your comeback player of the year. And knowing the kind of character Joe Flacco is, he'd probably be on top of the seat cheering for DeMar. But given the severity of what happened and ultimately what the result was, and I said that on the previous show, shout out to the medical team in Cincinnati who saved that young man's life. And as we speak about the Bengals, we're going to head over to that matchup in Arrowhead. Bengals are eliminated, boys, after a failed attempt in Kansas City. The Chiefs clinched the AFC West, but this has been one of the more trying seasons for the Chiefs. As the Bengals go, I got to say, Jake Browning's stock definitely on the rise after his sample size with the Bengals. There's a lot of quarterback issues around the league. This is a guy that's proven that give him a little time in the pocket, get him some capable guys with hands, he can read a defense. The Bengals offense did not miss a lot of beats in the grand scheme of things. That's not why they're not going to the playoffs.
That was my quarterback I wanted picked by the Giants in the late rounds, but he went undrafted. And I kept saying that kid can play. He may not be a starter, but he can spell a lot of quarterbacks, but he went undrafted. But this goes to Kansas City, man. They're not the team they used to be. The receivers can't catch. They can barely run the ball. They're living on defense. Chris Jones and crew. And I think
Loftus had a hell of a fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they stepped up yesterday, yeah. But they still got a lot of questions, man. And
yeah, definitely have more questions than answers on that team right now.
So
a lot more questions. No, I just Cincinnati. Well, I'll start with Cincinnati. This is the team that I thought they were going to be this year. I thought they were going to finish last in the division leading up to the season. I just thought that the paying Joe Burrow, I thought that was going to be of a distraction because then you're going to want Jamar Chase. That's going to want his contract. T. Higgins. There's too much meat going on in that locker room right now, and not a team. I could see a situation where they move on from their head coach, but going back to Jake Browning, it's interesting because technically speaking, he's trade bait now. And you got to ask yourself the questions: is he a better than a Caleb Williams, than a Michael Penix? Is he better than Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, so on and so forth? And if you're one of those teams that thinks he is, I mean, someone might come out and say, "Hey, we'll give you our first round pick." The Patriots, would they do it since they're drafting so high? Time will tell. But the Bengals have a good situation with Browning right now because you can still hold him and you're not going to have to pay him much, or you trade him if someone throws a second round pick at you, and hey, there you go.
To be honest, that's a physical division where many a quarterback, not just Joe Burrow, over the years, many a quarterback has gone down in that division. The most physical division in the league. So keeping a guy like that on your bench is a good problem to have too, all unto itself.
Well, look at that division. If you really look at it, with the exception of the Baltimore Ravens, Cleveland has had 3 or 4 quarterbacks play this year. The Steelers have had 3 quarterbacks play this year. The Bengals have had 3 quarterbacks because AJ McCarron has played this year.
That's right.
So so you're looking at 10 quarterbacks in that division have played because it is the most physical, most demanding division in football. Let's get straight to it. That division for years and years, when you talk about the AFC North or the AFC Central going back in the day, they've always been known as a team that's going to be a very physical. We're going to punch you in the mouth. We're going to hurt your quarterback. We saw the Bengals do it to Ben Roethlisberger. I'm sorry. We saw Carson Wentz. Yeah. No, Carson Palmer. We saw the Steelers do it to Carson Palmer. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then his
whole career.
But you know what? Getting back to Cleveland, I mean jump back, but like we should go have that show worst contracts. I wasn't too keen on the Deshaun Watson contract, and it's gonna go down to one of the worst contracts in history.
And what's crazy too is I texted Richie the other day and I said, if I'm Cincinnati, I'm re-upping T and I'm saying goodbye to Jamar. Me personally.
Me too. I agree.
That's cracking me up.
I agree.
But now moving over to Kansas City, like Kansas City to me right now, yes, they've got a fantastic defense. Their defense is definitely a defense that's going to keep you in games. However, they're playing the Bengals yesterday, who we all know is a 4th place team this year. Can they do this against the Ravens? Can they do this against the Bills? No. Can they do this against the Dolphins even? This is not a game in Germany. We're talking about playoffs
Dolphins
now.
might be the guys because of the other points you made about weather variables and because of the fact that the Chiefs have a pretty good defense. And Spags is calling some great packages in the right times of games that win games.
My thing with the Chiefs is when the season is said and done, whether it's wild card round or divisional round, we're going to look back on their season. We're going to look back before the season started and say, you should have signed DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
And it's that simple. That right there would have had a daisy chain effect on everyone, where Travis Kelce, the whole Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce thing, it's because Travis Kelce needs another compliment out there. When you're a defense coordinator scheming to stop Kelce, it's a lot easier to scheme against that than having to stop a number 1 receiver and then a true tight end.
I got a little
completely different.
I got a little theory for you. After a failed experiment with Darren Waller in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and with an emerging Daniel Bellinger, maybe the New York Giants make a deal with the Kansas City Chiefs to send Darren Waller there to be the B tight end alongside Kelce. That could be interesting. Gets him back in the division.
You send everybody else there. Why not?
I mean, dude,
I'm just joking, but yeah.
If Darren Waller leaves, I mean,
that would hype him up too.
I'm not going to feel it as a fan. I'm going to feel it in Madden.
Yeah.
Look, I'll tell you what. That's not a bad idea, because when you think about trading Darren Waller back to the AFC West to a team against his former team's rival, that'll put a little fire under his ass for sure.
And it does something good for the Giants because we're not close right now. You need to keep filtering in talent. I like that deal. I like my suggestion. Let's see if they do it. Make it happen, Giants. Make it happen.
Yeah,
I'm going to let you start this one, Idris. I know you were very adamant about your opinion of Mike Tomlin. Every time things look like they're bleak, he finds a way. The Steelers beat the Seahawks.
A lot of Steeler fans are ready to get Tomlin out of there. Oh, he's losing. And I said, look, this guy has not had a losing season. I said, Mike Tomlin's going to get it done. For some reason, he has that motivation. They said, okay, let's win. It's crazy because his Mason Rudolph, about the Myles Garrett thing, he's on the bench. You got Trubisky. You have Pickett, who Giants fan wanted, but I said, don't get him because you can't. Anyway, these guys make a fool of themselves. I don't want to say it that way, but they went out there and just looked like they're not ready to even be on an NFL field. Here comes Mason Rudolph comes in there, who's been in the system for how many years? 3-4 years now?
Been there quite a while, man.
Yeah. And he comes in there and you see a whole different team.
I'm right there with Idris. You guys know this already. I've been advocating for the Steelers before the season started. I have been saying this team is a good team, that they needed to go out there and make one firing, which they finally did in Matt Canada. But what people are forgetting, this team was 7-4. Then Kenny Pickett goes down, and it was Mitchell Trubisky. That's what caused their 3-game losing streak. And then they say, hey, let's bring in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer for Christmas weekend. And then he goes out there, has a great game. They win again yesterday, and here they are. Yeah, they're right there in it. It was just Trubisky was not the guy. He's never been the guy. We saw him. Yeah, he had one great season in Chicago. That defense was pretty good too, though.
Zappy. We had Giants fans that wanted us to sign him.
That a lot of fans wanted to sign Mitchell.
No! There's a reason why he's bouncing around.
Yeah, it made sense to put him with Brian Dable,
Russell, and
no, it's incredible. I laugh at Steelers fans that sit there and say, we got to get rid of Tomlin. I'm like, why? Like, the guy, all he does is win. He's
follow their history as fans. How many coaches have they had, bro? I've had more people on this panel. I've had more people on this panel sometimes on a given night than the Steelers have had coaches in the last 60 years.
3 in the Super Bowl era. 3.
Yeah. You're talking about Chuck
chips.
The Chuck Snow, Tomlin, and Coward. Come on now.
Coward, that's it. 17 straight winning seasons. They got 20 in a row. Last team to do that was who? Them Cowboys.
Cowboys. Yeah.
The Cowboys had Landry forever.
Yeah.
And Johnson replaced him.
What happened here? Like 25 in a row or something like that?
Yeah, he was there a very long time. He basically went from being an assistant with the Giants to Dallas, and he made a massive stamp on what they did.
Basically built the league. I mean, he was the face of the league.
He was a huge part of it. Huge part of it.
No, I give credit to Mike Tomlin and that Steelers team, though. I mean, and then the great thing is they're not out of it yet. They go out, win next week, and you got to see what happens.
It's a weird kind of help that they need because you have this. You have this 3-way clusterfuck in the AFC South where the loser, essentially, because somebody's got to win one division game during that week, barring a tie, because you have Jacksonville taking on the Titans, and you also have the Texans playing against the Colts. That's the real eliminator because the loser of that Colt Texan game
going to the
show, essentially. And Jacksonville, what they got going for them is that even with a loss, they might still be able to cling in because of the fact that they swept the Colts. Whereas in Houston's case, a loss to the Colts might kick them straight out.
A Colts win and a Jaguars loss makes the Colts the champs. It puts the Steelers in, and then the playoffs are set in the AFC. That's really what it boils down to. A Jaguars win, Texans win, it's those two. A Jaguars win, Colts win, it's those two. But the Steelers need the Jaguars to lose in order for them to be able to sneak in.
Is it 2 spots still open or just 1?
It technically 2 because the AFC South is not settled, and we still have the number 7 seed not settled yet. So
because the South, it's so weird. Jacksonville sucks at home. They're pretty good on the road. Do they even want to win the division?
Right.
I mean, it's weird. And then the NFC South is not much better in terms of parity. Right. We mentioned Josh Allen. We're going to hit on this again here. Subpar performance from Josh. By defeating the Patriots, they set up a Week 18 showdown in Miami for the AFC East crown. Bills won the first matchup 44-20. In my opinion, and I've been alluding to this for the better part of a month, I believe the Buffalo Bills, this is Miami's worst nightmare. They didn't want this. Buffalo, I get it. They play in a cold region and all that other cool stuff. But when you look at the way that team is built, similar to teams of the past that play in Green Bay and during the Rodgers era, the latter part of the Rodgers era. Brett said this. Cold weather teams that play finesse football. This is the best place for this game to be played for the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo's not only going to beat Miami, I think they're going to beat them by 10 or more. Miami is dinged up. Tyreek Hill's hurt. Waddle's not. We don't know when he's coming back. Bradley Chubb, we mentioned the injury. This is the perfect time for Buffalo to face these guys. Miami's in trouble.
I agree. Josh is not Lamar is dynamic, but Josh is stronger. He's going to pound you on the line.
Indeed.
And what I seen what Baltimore did to Miami yesterday, especially in the interior, man, it's going to be a beatdown. I'm going to say at least 15 points. Buffalo.
I got a bad feeling with Miami, dude. I think Miami, after such a high trajectory about a month ago, and even flirting with the 1 seed, now it looks like they might be one and done. Because if they go to KC, like let's just say hypothetically, it's Kansas City. That's not a place you want to play in round 1. It might be the only playoff game the Chiefs win, but they will win that one. They are good at home, but but Mahomes has never had to win anything on the road, so that's a whole nother story unto itself that's going to be unveiled.
Yeah,
it's going to be it's going to be interesting. You know, I although Buffalo had a bad game yesterday, they came out with the victory, but people got to still remember Bill Belichick has always coached well against Buffalo. That's the one thing you got to remember. But
that's valid.
And then not only that, it kind of was a trap game because they knew, all right, we win this game, it's all about next week. So it's kind of like looking ahead a little bit. When you're playing a bad team, you tend to do that, you know, but you still got to remember who the coach was. So no, got to still tip my hat off to Belichick. He still has his players playing, even though it looks like he's got one game left with that organization. They're playing for him. But as far as Buffalo and Miami goes, I mean, shoot. But this is a game where Buffalo, it seems like they're going to come out, they're going to punch you right in the mouth, run it right down your throat, take that 7-0 lead, and unleash that defense. That's just what it feels like is going to happen.
Yeah,
I think Tua's going to be under a decent amount of duress, and let's not lose sight of the fact that we may agree, we may not. Buffalo doesn't necessarily have player for player the defense that they've had in previous years. But the thing is, they still have an adequate defense that if they get, to your point, the 7-10 lead early, they can pull your ears back, so to speak, pin your ears back and start getting to work. And I'm not going to pin this completely on Mike McDaniel. He is the coach. At the end of the day, you win together, you lose together. But that friggin' loss to Tennessee on Monday Night Football that was simultaneously going on to the Packer-Giant game, Miami has not been right since they allowed that shit to happen. Just my opinion, but I really believe that I've seen a difference in just the way they move since they allowed Tennessee to damn near put you to sleep and then steal it.
And you know what? I think an interesting topic that's going to come up with is let's go with the assumption that Miami does lose next week, and let's say that would put them as the 6th seed, so they'll be playing Kansas City. They're not beating Kansas City in the first round. Will Mike McDaniel go into the offseason on the hot seat? I think so. Because that's now 2 years in a row with a similar outcome towards the end of the season. He's a very exciting coach, but I just don't think he's a head coach. Too one-dimensional. He doesn't know how to coach his team when it matters most. And he might be better suited to be a coach in the AFC South, as crazy as that might sound. AFC East, it's a lot more difficult. So,
I actually think that he got more rope last year because of the whole concussion thing that was a gray cloud over their season. And, Skylar Thompson, who was their third stringer, actually put together a very valiant effort in Buffalo.
Yeah.
But Buffalo wasn't right last year either. They already had injuries on defense. And after what happened to DeMar, I think from an emotional standpoint, football did not feel all that important going into the playoffs of Buffalo last year.
Yeah. 1,000,000% agree on that statement right there. That's why they play the game, though, and it's a new season. But I think that's the thing we're going to have to keep an eye on with Miami is will they move on from Mike McDaniel? Because a lot of us thought they should have moved on from him last year just with the way the Tua situation was handled.
Him and Staley.
Him and Staley, yeah. So it's just one of those things I'm going to watch for. But it's just crazy how it's literally a tale of two teams right now. One going up, the other one going down.
And that's the crazy thing, because like I alluded to earlier, Zap, Idris, when they lost to Philly, and everybody felt Buffalo should have won that game, I thought they were cooked. And then that damn Denver loss right before that, when they had too many men on the field. Now look at them. And Idris, I'm going to let you start with this one, buddy. NFC East, and you have we had a guest that coaches for this team. This is all I got to say about the headline here. Die, Eagles, die. Eagles are shocked by the lowly Arizona Cardinals. And by virtue of the Cowboys win, the Eagles lose control of the NFC East. That guy in the corner, Zappy, called this on a personal phone call saying that he thought the Cardinals were going to be the guys to kick the Eagles down. I thought it was going to be our Giants.
He put it on Facebook. I've seen it. I was like, damn, he nailed that shit.
Yeah, he certainly did. And I'm angry at myself. In Jordan's pick'em pool, I didn't get my money in time. I would have won the damn pool. I had everything right this week, other than
what? Football. Let's let Zappy do this one because it's pertaining to his team, so Zappy can start this one out.
No, it's just one of those things that even before the season started, to me, the Philadelphia Eagles, the 2023 Philadelphia Eagles have been one of the luckiest teams in the NFL. They've been, it's been a lot of one-possession games. If you're going to compare Dallas and Philly, Dallas has won 8 games or 9 games by 20 points or more, where the Eagles have done it one time this year. You look at their secondary, one of the worst secondaries in the NFL. Their linebackers are not that great this year. There was just too many more questions.
That's why I wanted Zappy to start.
Look,
I knew this was going to pop up.
Hey, look, I'd been saying it all year with the Eagles. They were not impressing me. They got bailed out so many times. Many times, and that's the thing that people won't realize about them. They got bailed out. Now the going got tough, and we see who Sirianni is. We see what this team is. And let me tell you right now, for this Eagles team, there's going to be a lot of changes. Will Sirianni be back? We see what happens. What did they do? They go fire both their coordinators in the offseason. Their defensive coordinator, who is now the head coach of who again? The Cardinals. That's right.
The security detail. This is the one stadium of the old stadium. The only one that had a holding cell. Everything is falling apart, even from a security standpoint.
No,
you know something? No, they're getting good, Zappy.
No, so those are things I look into. So, when I see a Jonathan Gannon coaching against a Cowboys team that just lost to Trayvon Diggs, or coaching against his former team that he should have never been fired to begin with. If he's still that defense coordinator, that team would have been a great defense this year. Just because you have the players is not the same. When you have the coordinator, that makes all the difference in the world.
Pause that just 1 second, Zappy. I want to play this for Mr. Nunez. He says he feels so very sick.
But what's crazy, I'm not going to jump ahead of myself, but what the craziest thing about it all is, it looks like it's going to be another season in the NFC East where we're not going to have a back-to-back season winner.
No,
that's what's crazy about it.
Johnson jinxed the Eagles by being so humble. Oh, it's not going to happen because of what Dallas was going through.
You know something? Before the season, I had said there's some shit going down with the coaching staff, but I couldn't say it because then Gannon and what's the name was gone.
1 second, Idris. Feel sick? You feel sick?
I should have played that Kawhi Leonard laugh.
Kawhi Leonard laugh right there. That's the Eagles season right there.
And I'm telling you, Nunez, before the season started, we said this, that there's some stuff going on. Next thing you lost your OC and your DC. And we're starting to see what's happening. And I've been telling Richie, and I just told Zappy off air, and the Eagles are the 2022 Vikings. It could be the Lions, but it's a team who's just getting by. And this is the start of this. Zappy said it, they're just getting by. But you can get by but so long.
Yeah, I'm sorry. When you play Miami and don't even get penalized, not once in the game,
Yeah.
who saw the
I
Giants
mean,
last week? I'm not making any freaking excuses. We didn't play well enough to win. But Wandell, come on, bro. He got
you
blown.
guys didn't play well enough to win. You guys should have lost that game by a lot more than just one score. But it goes to show the direction the Eagles season was
Oh,
going.
we got
The
some more
fact,
here. Hold on. We got some more here from Nunez.
Uh-oh.
Got into a fight
Yeah.
after. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even when the drive where Devontae Smith got hurt, you could
Yeah.
see Jalen and AJ walking off the field. AJ
Mhm.
was yelling at Dallas Goedert. AJ is a cancer to me. AJ, when the going goes rough, this dude
He loses it.
Follow him
he
back
loses
to
it.
Tennessee and what happened?
Exactly.
Right. That's
Exactly.
A week or so ago, he threw a helmet in the direction of the receivers coach.
Yeah.
Not at him, but it could have bounced. The point is like, bro, you got to be a little more even keel when shit isn't going right for you.
And then we're gonna take it back to the Super Bowl. Why I think it's an issue, not so much with the culture, but yes, their culture, but in the locker room. When we're seeing Aaron Moorhead getting yelled at by Nick Sirianni on the sideline, and then let's go ahead and fire our OCDC.
Yeah.
It was desperate attempts to say, hey, we could do this. I'm Nick Sirianni.
Yeah,
Forget you, Kansas City Chiefs fans.
Yeah.
No,
you have a guy half his younger. You're twice as old as your quarterback, and your quarterback is calming you down. Sirianni's a lot of hot air, bro. I've been wanting to say this for a long time. I'm gonna say it now because now everybody's starting to be like, get rid of this bum. They got rid of Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson got him the brass.
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni cried when it started, and he cried when it ended.
He just had that one bad season, and they got him out of there.
Overrated.
Yeah.
He's been riding the coattails of some of the best assistant coaches in the league.
Yeah.
Offensive line. Gannon was there. Mm-hmm. Aaron Moorhead is doing a hell of a job with those receivers. Mm-hmm. He's been riding their coattails. I said,
you know what's crazy? Here's what's crazy. Look at Shane Steichen and the Colts. How are they doing right now? They're right there.
They got a chance to win a division.
And then, and my honest opinion,
wonder, huh?
and look, I'll look at it this way with the Cardinals. If Jonathan Gannon had Kyler Murray the whole year, they've been a competitive team every game. They've been a tough team. And which I will say this about Arizona. Yes, you won the game, but you got to be praying that the Bears don't take Marvin Harrison at 1, because if they don't, he's gonna fall to 4. If you could, because look, if I'm the Bears and Cardinals, I'm keeping Justin Fields, I'm keeping Kyler Murray, and that a big resolution right there. Marvin Harrison Jr. is right there. If the Cardinals can somehow work out a trade to get him, that's what they need. They need to get a true number 1 for Kyler.
Yeah,
but it goes to show, man. Coaching really does matter in this league.
I did see a trade suggested on CBS the other day that would essentially send Kyler Murray to Minnesota in the event that the Cardinals were going quarterback, and quarterback in this case would be
Caleb Williams.
Or actually Daniels. See, this is the thing. I don't know where Caleb Williams is going, but I think Daniels is the best of the class. At least when we're talking about the guys that are supposed to be, like the guys in the front of it.
Yeah, this to me is gonna. I mean, Caleb Williams is the name for this year's draft. We see it every year where it's the name, it's the product.
It's a weird one.
It's the next. It's
one right now.
Yeah, right. And but I still think Caleb's gonna go number 1 just because it's Caleb Williams. Where I think Jaden Daniels should go higher than him. I think Caleb should probably be the 3rd.
So you got Chicago back?
I think Chicago is in the perfect position because they also got the number 10 pick.
They got the number 10 pick, you're right.
So if I'm Chicago, hey, look, if no one's going to offer me a trade to make me want to trade back, all right, we take Marvin Harrison, we take Joe Alt. You either get your guy to protect, you get your guy to protect. Yeah, of course you want Joe Alt, but I don't think you give up on. I definitely don't use number 1 to get quarterback. If I'm going to get a quarterback, I'm using number 10. That's what I'm doing.
You still get Harrison and get another player to be named later if you trade back, because everybody else wants a quarterback.
Yeah,
and even the New York Giants, if you can't get Daniels, the Giants aren't going to draft a quarterback at pick 5 or pick 6. Pick 5 right now. They're going O-line. Round 2, McCarthy. That's the guy you grab if you're the New York Giants. And go get Kayvon some help too, please.
Yeah, no kidding. No, it's a. Yeah, I think they trade back too. You know, a perfect spot for them to trade back would be to number 3, in my honest opinion, where they stay in front of Arizona. They can still get Marvin Harrison. They can acquire an extra second or a third. And then you can turn around and flip number 10 with a second or third and get up to number 6 and still get your quarterback, you know? So that's the great thing about the Bears. They're in a good spot right now where they could still trade back, get Marvin. You have a true number 1, DJ Moore, Justin Fields. They still have a run team. Their defense has vastly improved after the acquisition of Sweat from Washington, you know, so they could definitely do it. I'll say that. I will say that.
Carolina, man.
I think Williams is going to possibly drop a little more than people see coming. I think so Blake May's going to the Patriots, assuming that they don't get Marvin Harrison. But what Zappy just said, I think that's what prevents a team like an Arizona or New England to get Marvin Harrison.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy because me and my son were watching that Eagles game yesterday. Obviously, we're cheering for Arizona. And at the same time, while we're cheering for Arizona, I had it on my computer where they're showing the 49ers live and showing Deebo Samuel doing the same thing we were doing, cheering. It was like, come on, Philly. Come on, Philly. Do what you do best. Choke again.
Speaking of scoreboard watching, Coach Sean McDermott asked Buffalo to not put on the Miami score. They didn't want them scoreboard watching. They wanted them to be focused. Didn't exactly translate on the offensive side of the ball. Josh Allen had a stinker yesterday, but it's a blessing when you cannot play your best and then your defense stepped up to the occasion and other players on offense. The running game was good enough. Buffalo's starting to get that look. Cleveland's starting to get that look. These are wild cards you don't want to play. I know the Rams going into yesterday were getting that label. Yesterday, in my opinion, they took a step back, even though they did win. We're going to talk about the NFC South for a moment. Saints batter Buccaneers, but still need a win, and a Bucs loss to the NFC South next week to win the NFC South. Bucs play Panthers, Saints play the Falcons. The Bucs are going to beat the Panthers. That's that. I don't have much to say past that, other than the fact that when you look at Game 1 versus Game 2, I must admit, I think Derek Carr showed some serious improvement.
Yeah, as I said, poor Carolina. Here you are, the worst team in the league. You still don't get a top 10 pick.
No, you got to wait till number 33 to draft.
Right. That's a shame, man. They really, yeah. We're going to do our worst contracts and drafts one day. But
might be the day of the draft if it's real.
Yeah, for real.
I think go back to Gettleman. You could start a short book right there.
Yeah, I think the NFC South has got to be the one division that over the years has always had the worst division leader make the playoffs. Because Carolina was 6-10 some years ago. They made it. The last year it was
all of them
Tampa
finished.
Bay.
Yeah, they all finished tied with the same record, but it was Tampa Bay that got in.
Right.
It's been bad lately. And I mean, granted, this is a division that had a Super Bowl champion only a few years ago. That was Brady's first year in Tampa. But, you know, a big regression. And even yesterday's events kind of shocked me. I really thought that Tampa Bay had everything right where they needed it to be. They'll still win the division. And I'll be honest, I've talked a lot of shit about Philly in this show. I still don't think Tampa against Philly is the prime matchup that works for Tampa. But I don't know.
We saw Philly beat them earlier this year in Tampa. But when you talk about where the two teams are today compared to a month and a half ago, it's two completely different teams.
Yeah.
Two completely different teams. Tampa is pretty much still the same team, but Philly is definitely not. Philly right now lost their identity.
Yeah.
Defensively and offensively. Tampa, we know their identity. They just went away from it yesterday in the first three quarters. And then finally came back to it.
Very popular. I'm going to congratulate you on likely getting the 2 and likely winning the East. That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something from a very honest place. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys have both been limping to the finish line of this NFL season. And I'll tell you the truth. The referees got it right with that 68-70. Anybody who's crying, bitching, and moaning doesn't understand.
They got it right.
They did get it right.
They got to ride for a couple of reasons.
Game. You don't got to worry about all that 2-point nonsense. And I'm sorry, I like Dan Campbell a lot, former Cowboy, former Giant. I like him. He's a good coach, a likable guy.
Some tripping call.
Yes, indeed. He hurt his team winning that game, and I'll be honest, the loss doesn't hurt Detroit all that much in the grand scheme of things. Because what's the difference? Who's going to be number 7? Green Bay? Who's going to be number 6? The Rams. Yeah. Green Bay has put a whooping on Detroit on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, where's Detroit to be number 3? I mean that's so.
Yeah, the only difference for Detroit was if they won, they would have been the number 2 seed.
And let's not lose sight of the fact that the CeeDee Lamb fumble was about as miraculous as the Justin Jefferson one way early in the year against Philly.
Yeah, but I'm gonna set out to CeeDee Lamb. I seen what he said that don't change the rules. I just got to hold on to the ball. I like CeeDee Lamb.
That's the right answer.
I'm not a Cowboy fan, but I love CeeDee Lamb.
That's the right answer.
That guy has went from here to here.
They've already mangled the rules enough. I agree with CeeDee on that.
It was and that was another point in the game that changed the momentum. You know, you're talking about CeeDee. If he holds the ball, all right, you're down at the 6-inch line, and you either QB sneak it, you roll Dak out, something. They have a play to get through that. CeeDee should have held on to the ball. The phantom tripping call, if that call never gets called, because it was actually tripping on Aiden Hutchinson. Yeah. But then the game is over. Dallas runs the clock out. The game is over. And going back to that play where Decker, yes, he did check in. It was still 2 other penalties because it was still illegal touching by Decker because the receiver was supposed to come off the ball. So that was an illegal formation on that play too. Receiver never came off the ball, and because he stayed on the ball, Decker was an illegal man.
Well, we've got fans in our fan base and in other fan bases that just don't like Dallas saying, this bullshit. Yes, the refs have been terrible this year. Yeah. But if you think there's something wrong, then you need to pick up the NFL rule book.
And that's why I made that long post about, once I watched, I clarified it. Now I said, officiating is bad all around. I mean, it's
but you can't recreate rules because you don't like the result of them either. And not for nothing, dude. Like even with the whole reporting thing, he went in there like whispering at him and shit because he didn't want to get noticed. I'm like, bro, there's 100,000 people here. You're noticed.
Yeah, and Ryan brings up a very, very good point. Dallas looks like they will be playing Green Bay. Or it could be Seattle. Or it looks like it's going to be Green Bay.
I'm already on it right now.
And so it's Green Bay. All right, so Dallas has been unstoppable at home, so we could already pencil that in. But the Rams are the team, and what's crazy is Detroit. They're going to get their opportunity at revenge against Dallas if you really look at it. Whether Detroit wins, whether Philly or the Bucs win, it's going to be Detroit back in Dallas a couple weeks later after that game.
That's what they lose by not winning it if you want to spin it that way. That rematch would have been in Ford Field maybe. But don't worry, it ain't going to happen, and I'll tell you why it ain't going to happen.
The Rams are the team you don't want to see.
Because Matthew Stafford's not going back to Detroit to lose.
No, he's not. He's not.
Who the hell is going to stop the combo of Cooper Kupp and Puka? Come on.
Cooper and Puka.
Exactly.
And then not only that, guys, this Rams team is only a couple years removed from the Super Bowl. They still have Matthew Stafford. They still have Cooper Kupp. Puka Nacua, like we said, is a great receiver. Aaron Donald is still there.
Sometimes
they're a good coach team.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to be lucky too, because let me tell you something. They literally tried to gift that game to the New York Giants, and the New York Giants were like, you know what? Nah, I don't think we want it either.
Like yesterday.
Tyrod Taylor put the ball in. He could have threw it underhand. He could have went to somebody in the 6th row and still could have scored. But instead, he's like, I think what happened was he was in such shock that he had such an easy lane, and then he sees Saquon suddenly open that he literally overreacted. But I'm like, bro, don't overthink it. Nobody's in front of you. Just run it in.
This is why I think we could beat Philly this Saturday. We're back in MetLife.
But I'm going to tell you what.
I don't want to lose to Philly again.
I'm going to tell
And
you
I'm
what.
pretty sure Cowboy fans don't want Philly to win either.
I'm going to tell you what. The reason why I'm okay with beating Philly
Yeah.
is because just keep the momentum rolling downward. Were
Yeah.
they down to do us a favor in 2020 when they put in some asshole named Sudafed?
Right. Yeah. Beat them.
You had all these Giants up on Twitter going berserk. Are you serious? This is bullshit. The Cowboys and us fought for 3 hours. You're just going to lay down?
What I hated about that game was not the point that they just gave us because they quit. That was my thing. You're on the feeling you quit. That was my problem. Because we should have done what we had to do to get in there.
There was a communication that wasn't even addressed with the team unto itself. I want to get back to the Packers before we get out of here.
Before you do, let me say one more thing about the Lions. While the fans could be upset about the referee, everyone needs to understand the referees did not get demoted because of one play. They got demoted because of a lot of plays in that game. But the other thing Lions fans need to remember is while I love Dan Campbell as a head coach, as a person,
oh no,
you got to remember,
get the hell out of here.
Yeah, you got to remember his big balls cost them that game too. The fact that he goes for it on fourth down over and over, and he's done it a couple of times this year.
Yes.
So while you could sit there and go to one play, if they would have taken those points earlier in the game, the Lions are winning that game.
It takes the novelty out of the cool fake punt play, which was genius, by the way.
Yeah, it was genius. And you know that
what did that result in? Nothing, because I'm too early in the game. Take the friggin' points.
Take the points.
Yeah,
and you know what? And that's the one thing I'm worried about for Dallas is that's now the second time a fake punt has been run on us. And I think Jalen Tolbert needs to come off a punt return team because it's been his side of the ball that the receiver gets the ball. But
what, Brett? MVP of what? The Super Bowl? They're not going to the bowl, dude. You don't really believe that, do you? Brett, this team barely beat the New York Giants yesterday.
Stafford the MVP. I thought you wanted David Carr the MVP.
Jesus. And I thought his Eli Apple takes were horrible. I want to get to the Packers before we get out of here.
He owe me some money for that. I'm going to find
it. Yeah. Yesterday, I got to say this. Brett hits John Olsen. Hey, what's third place worth? It don't matter, bro. Have you seen the scoreboard? I myself came in second place in one of my work leagues, as well as my favorite league, Pops Cheddar in the Sun. My championship reign comes to a year's end, and I have recently changed my team name from King Richard to the Fallen King. But we're going to speak to speak of the Packers here.
You can also call yourself LeBron James.
Oh boy, I think it all went downhill when I took off the Will Smith emoji face.
Hey, but I got to ask one question, Richie. You came in second, and you did this without the likes of two players, Jamar Chase and Patrick Mahomes. You never had to make trades with me. Everyone knew I mailed it in early. I finished in last. I will gladly say it. My goal was always for next year because of what I did last year.
You're going to get the second pick back by sending Mahomes to the man next to you.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line is, even if Mostert played and was healthy under normal circumstances, even if I would have put Likely in for Kittle, which I debated about all week, the bottom line is what the production that he got out of Lamar Jackson was not going to be overcome.
No, he won that game yesterday. That's what I told you. Watch out for Lamar. That's the only one I'm worried about.
He put me out. As the Packers go, I do believe that they are a formidable opponent for potentially the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be a fun game. This is not Aaron Rodgers going into AT&T. First round of the playoffs, this is Jordan Love going into AT&T. Naturally, I should pick the Cowboys, and I think I probably would because of the experience variable. But I do believe that Dallas is going to be in for a bit of a game. I don't think this is going to be just show up and pack your lunch and kick them out real easy.
No, not at all.
This is going to be a hell of a football game. Now, granted, the Packers were in the same situation last year where they had a home game to finalize the year, and the Detroit Lions, who were eliminated about an hour before the game started, came in there and did what they had to do, which set them up for good momentum this year. But I do believe that the Packers will be headed to Dallas. The Packers really needed the Giants to win that game yesterday. Now, you got the 49ers. Don't have anything to play for next week. But I highly doubt that the 49ers are going to be in the business for wanting to do their rivals a favor. And the 49ers are a deep enough team that even if you push out Sam Darnold out there,
the 49ers are going to put – I think the Niners will be playing Darnold this week. They need to sit CMC. They need to see Debo. They have the number 1 seed locked up. They're
still capable of winning that game.
And that's the thing. They're still because they're a great coached team. That's what the Niners are. They're a great coached team. You give the ball to Elijah Mitchell and have Darnold throwing the ball, they'll be just fine.
Not to mention, look at the head-to-head. Don McVay's a great head coach, but if there's one guy that he struggled to beat, it's that guy.
Yep.
Kyle Shanahan.
Now, I got to give it up to the Packers. They were a team that I didn't think were going to be doing this well this year.
Me neither.
And they're right there. They're right there. All they got to do is win next week, and they're in. That's
but, boys, going into this year, who the hell had the Green Bay Packers making the playoffs and the New York Jets staying home?
I had it just the opposite.
I think we all had it just the opposite.
Yeah, the Jets going in and the Packers winning maybe 6 games.
You're going to tell me with a straight face, fellas, that this doesn't annoy Aaron Rodgers a little bit?
Who had Houston fighting for the division?
I mean, dude, when Favre left, Rodgers didn't go to the playoffs the next year.
No, he didn't. It took Rodgers a couple years. Indy,
2 teams that shouldn't be there, who are there.
Minshew Magic versus CJ Stroud. I don't know anything. I think the Jaguars are going to beat the Titans. Who do you boys like in Jacksonville and Houston? Because outside of Miami and Buffalo, that is the most meaningful game as well next week.
I like Houston to win, and I like Jacksonville to win. I think those will be the final 2 playoffs. I think the Jags win the division, and Houston secures the number 7 seed.
What do the Colts do damn near every year that they're close to the playoffs? They lose their last game of the year.
They lose their last game.
Yes, sir.
Is Jacksonville playing at home, or they're at home, right?
They're at home. I'm fairly
I don't think Jacksonville's going to win.
I don't think it matters where they're playing because I think Jacksonville's going to win.
I don't think so.
I don't know, man. Tennessee, it's hard for me right now.
I know, but it's the last game. It might be Vrabel's last game.
It's in Tennessee. It is in Tennessee. That actually changes things up because I could see Tennessee winning that game. But I've got to go with Doug Peterson and his. This is a playoff game.
Yeah,
Jacksonville's a better team on the road.
Vrabel that too. Yeah, that's another thing too. Jacksonville is a better team on the road. I think the Titans will come out and play a hell of a game, but I think it's going to come down to the very end of the game, and I still think Jacksonville will be able to pull it off. But the game to watch, aside from Sunday Night Football between the Dolphins and the Bills, the game to watch is going to be the Texans and Colts. That's going to be a fun, exciting game because either one of the winner of that game gets into the playoffs. The winner of that game.
I'm rooting for the Colts, and I'll tell you why. CJ Stroud has so many more chances to be in games like this. Gardner Minshew, not so much. I want to see Gardner Minshew do something.
It'd be nice.
Because he's not a starter anymore. He got this job because Richardson got hurt.
Yeah.
And for Wags.
You said who?
And for Wags.
And for Wags.
Colts fan.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh
yeah, he's a huge Colts fan. Hey, if I'm Houston and I'm Indianapolis, if I'm D'Amico and I'm Shane, I'm gonna sit down and talk and be like, look, guys, we just need. You know what? Let's just tie this game. Watch the Titans beat the Jaguars, and we both get in.
You remember a couple of years ago with the
Chargers and the Raiders.
Yeah.
Good old Brandon Staley was like, I don't know.
Messed it up.
No.
The Raiders were like, look, we both can get in if you just listen to us.
Yeah. So
what happened?
So maybe,
what happened? What was Herbert, like 19 consecutive completions all to no avail?
All you had to do was follow the program with both.
You're coming up on the final minute of the show. Zappy, pleasure having you back here today.
Hell yeah.
Idris, good job today, buddy. Happy New Year to all. A little salty about my 2 second-place finishes. I'm in a third. Finals next week. They had an extra regular season.
Like the Giants, I didn't finish last.
Hey.
Start the year 2-1 and win 2 more games the whole year. Damn,
4-0.
No, I'll talk
those
about the Commandos.
Yeah, and here's some food for thought for the last 20 seconds. Let's draft Sam Howell out of UNC, and let's replace him with Drake May out of UNC, and then wonder why we still look like the same friggin' busted up product. For the boys, I am Richie, and we will be back soon with some announcements to come. Have a great day, everyone.
Let's